Well, someone for whom there just simply aren't enough adjectives and who owns them all: articulate, brilliant, genius, talented,
handsome,
opinionated, handsome, is, of course, Calvin Robinson in London. Calvin, great to see you. How are you, mate?
What a kind introduction. Thank you very much.
Oh, we try here on Outsiders. Forget all those other shows, Calvin. You come on Outsiders and, you know, we look after you. Come on, Boris Johnson, what is going on?
Oh, it's a hard one. It's a really difficult one because on the one hand, I kind of think he has to go now. He's been caught out lying too many times. You know, he said there were no such thing as parties going on in number 10 Downing Street during the lockdown, and then we found out there are, and then we found out there are more parties going on. So he's been lying, but also being a hypocrite, because these were the people writing the rules, saying that people could not go out of their homes, people could not mingle with their loved ones over Christmas, while number 10 were partying with champagne, having a good old sing-song and a dance. So he's been caught out lying, been caught out being a hypocrite. And so on one hand, I want him to go. I think, you know, that's enough. There's no integrity there. But on the other hand, is it better the devil you know? Because is Boris Johnson the only one preventing us going into lockdown again? Because he's afraid of the numbers. The polls are not in his favour. He's actually doing conservative things for once and standing up for us. But it's because he's afraid of his life.
Well, we had William Ragg telling us about the whips were blackmailing, you know, it's very strong words about the behaviour of the party to those who were contemplating rolling Boris Johnson. Just have a quick look at this grab from William Ragg.
To secure the government's business in the House of Commons. However, it is not their function to breach the ministerial code in threatening to withdraw investments from members of Parliament's constituencies which are funded from the public purse. Additionally, reports to me and others of members of staff at number 10 Downing Street, special advisers, government ministers and others encouraging the publication of stories in the press seeking to embarrass those who they suspect of lacking confidence in the Prime Minister is similarly unacceptable. The intimidation of a Member of Parliament is a serious matter. Moreover, the reports of which I am aware would seem to constitute blackmail. As such, it would be my general advice to colleagues to report these matters to the Speaker of the House of Commons and the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, and they're also welcome to contact me at any time.
Basically accusing those in 10 Downing Street of blackmail and criminal activities, Calvin, that's serious stuff. Is that getting any traction in Britain?
Yes, it's quite strong words he's using there, but I think most people understand that this is how politics works. The Whip's office has to keep people in line, and you have to vote along with your party, and the only way they can do that these days is by offering money, is basically saying if you want something for your constituency, you have to fall in line and vote in our favour. I think we all get that that's how it works. It looks a bit slimy, to be honest, that politicians are now coming out, and it feels like the whole house of cards is falling down because everyone's kind of edgy. Nobody wants to be associated with number 10 and the government anymore because they can see they're falling, so they're all stepping aside and saying, oh, what's going on is awful. But we've always known that that's what's going on, and that's how politics works. So no one comes out of this looking good.
James.
Calvin, I want to go back to the hypocrisy which you talked about before. And what exactly is it that Britons are concerned about? And follow me here on this. Are they more concerned that Boris Johnson and the staff at number 10 broke the rules that they had put on everybody else in Britain, including the Queen, when she couldn't have people with her when she buried her husband? Or are they more concerned that actually these restrictions were put on them in the first place when clearly they weren't all that necessary if they were easy enough for the people at 10 Downing Street to violate?
Absolutely, both of those things. So it's really, really horrendous when we see these images of Her Majesty the Queen sat there mourning her husband all by herself because of social distancing rules, with a mask on, feeling, you know, looking very detached. It was isolated and very sad. That was horrendous. But ordinary, normal people went through this as well. You know, people weren't allowed to go and see their loved ones and hold their hands as they passed away. People were isolating and very afraid of what was going on. And then at the same time, we hear that the people writing these rules, literally creating these rules, these draconian restrictions, were having a whale of a time, which goes to say that they didn't really think that these rules were necessary. They weren't that afraid of COVID. If COVID was this ultimate killer virus, this massive pandemic that's going to kill us all, would they really be downing bottles of champagne in number 10? I don't think they would. So it kind of shows up the big hypocrisy and the mess of it all.
Rita.
I'm wondering, with Boris now fighting for his survival, for his political life, and finding his inner Tory, talking strongly about borders, lifting COVID restrictions, is there any danger that he might also walk away from this mad green ideology that he's embraced of late? Is he going to shift on that as well?
That's the one thing he hasn't mentioned, isn't it, Rita? My suspicions as to why. I think Mrs. Johnson is very much in favour of these policies.
Yes.
So yes, that's the one area he won't capitulate on, unfortunately. But it is great to see him, say, we're going to have the military controlling the borders. Thank you. The vast majority of the British public have been saying, why do we have so many illegal immigrants crossing over from a very safe country of France? We're not talking about refugees escaping Syria. We're talking about people crossing from the European Union into Great Britain. So they're not running for their lives. He's talking about fixing the NHS backlog, which has been worsened from COVID. He's talking about defunding the BBC. These are all very sound policies, but he will not touch net zero and the green issues. And that is a great shame.